Welcome everyone to episode 2 of the WINS Webby series. I am Amy Sheridan, founder of WINS Media, voice of amysheridan.com, and curator of the WINS membership community. The mission of this series is to elevate the visibility of women in sports and entertainment by creating a connected environment for authentic storytelling. First and foremost, we want to thank you for being here and for joining us as we speak to influential leaders across sports and entertainment and beyond. Today, it is my honor to introduce our guest, Jen Adams.
Hello. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. And I'm going to give Jen's bio and we are going to get this thing started. So Jen is a Fortune 100 brand marketer and holistic executive coach who works exclusively with high achievers in the businesses of entertainment, sports, travel, and leisure to elevate their career potential through mindset mastery, visioning, and goal setting. Jen brings a unique dimension to her practice, having served on the leadership team for one of the largest and most recognized brands, American Airlines. Throughout her career, Jen has honed her expertise in leading individuals and teams through mergers, crises, and other transitions, including, but not limited to, the 2014 US Airways American Airlines merger, as well as the 2009 US Airways Miracle on the Hudson. Jen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I know it's the second one, and I have a tough act to follow with Elisa last week. So I'm really, really thrilled to be here and so excited to see so many people joining in.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to close out the poll. Thank you everyone for participating in that. And I'm going to get started with the questions. Please keep in mind that we will take questions at the end. You can either drop them in the chat, you can drop them in the Q&A at any time. I will wait till the end to answer them. Also, by all means, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat so that we know who you are, so that the rest of the audience knows who you are. And, perhaps we can tailor some questions, around the people that are here. Okay. First question. Let's talk about the lifestyle of a sports, entertainment, leisure professional. Jen, can you paint this picture from your vantage point, having been in this space and sort of where you see it today?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, drop in the chat if your lifestyle has changed in the last year, please. I expect to see some ding, 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 because let's face it, everybody's lifestyle has changed since March 2020. And it's really interesting when I think about the industry that I came from and my background being in travel and a travel marketer and a sports marketer and my clients who are in sports and entertainment. When I think about these industries, they're really some of the most hard hit industries since the pandemic. And if you think about some of the commonalities that these industries all have, it's really about connecting people. It's about experiences and bringing people together. And that becomes your lifestyle. And that lifestyle literally went away overnight in March of 2020. So when I think about how my lifestyle has changed and how so many of my clients' lifestyles changed, the travel, the events, the experiential nature of our businesses being gone, we've all been forced into our bubbles, and we've been forced to really take note of the simple joys in life. If you told me last year that what would be making me happy now would be finding the last puzzle piece with my son and not going to the Super Bowl or getting on the next plane or kind of crushing that business presentation, I probably would have laughed. But we're also making different connections, right? So, a lot of my clients are working on educational pods with their kids, and they're getting to know their neighbors, and they're spending more time in the front lawn and at home, and making new and different connections. And it's not that they're better than before, they're just different. And it's just been a real shift.
Absolutely. And, thinking about how these businesses are 24/7, right?
Yes.
The people that work in sports entertainment, travel, it doesn't stop. Right. And so I think it's like a big slam of the brakes, a lot of uncertainty. But surely we're all going to get through it. And, things like this hopefully will help us, just kind of talking about it and learning from someone like you.
Absolutely. And I think, when we come from the businesses of making connections, we've got to continue to reach out and support each other and stay connected. And thank you so much for creating this Webby platform. Just one more really awesome way for us to do that. So thank you, Amy.
Of course. It is my pleasure to do that. It looks like we have a couple people coming in, Jen, just to make sure that you're seeing some introductions on the chat. Thank you guys for doing that, Jen, Jennifer, and Molly.
Hi, guys. Glad everyone's here.
Okay, so let's talk about 2020 for a second. And I say that as if it's, I know 2020 is over, but this stuff continues into 2021. What were some of the themes in the upper level suites across this business, with regard to, either mindset or leading teams virtually that you saw? And how do you perhaps see that emerging this year?
Yeah, it's funny. I heard so many people, I continue to hear people say, I can't wait until we're all just back in the office. Well, guess what? Newsflash, that's not happening. And I think there's a real mindset shift that needs to happen here within leaders to realize it's never going to be exactly the way it was. And especially from kind of a generational perspective, I think as we're talking about recruiting the best talent, we need to provide options. It's not, it's ubiquitous now that you're going to have options to work from home. People have proven that we can be productive in this environment. And so as leaders and CEOs, we've got to figure out a way to pivot our businesses to be able to accommodate that long term. I was one of those people that didn't really believe it about the remote work. And as a leader, I felt to collaborate, I had to be in person. And so I had to work through that and adapt to that. And I think adapting to this is key to success and, navigating this pandemic. I think embracing the Zoom is super important, which I know has been hard, but think back to the days when we used to take phone calls. Well, now it's just assumed that we're going to be on Zoom. And so what I like about the mindset shift that's happened with the virtual working is it's really humanizing everyone on our teams. And now we're being invited into our homes, and we want to see your kids, we want to see your kittens, I just realized I have a box back here. I'm like, what the heck? Okay, I'm going to keep it real. There's a box back here. I don't know what's in it. Who knows? We'll figure it out later. But really embrace the fact that we get to see you in your home. I think it's really brought some vulnerability to upper level leaders, right? And all of us to really humanize each other, which I think has been so important. We also get to kind of get those body language cues, which is so important, especially as we're, connection people. But I think people have also gotten really creative with how to lead teams in this virtual space. The filters, did everyone see that viral video of the lawyer who couldn't get the cat filter off his Zoom? I mean, I love it. have some fun with this. And it's important to allow your teams to sort of relax and have a little fun. And I've seen the whiteboard Pictionary pop out, the backgrounds. Again, it's really humanized, I think, the connection between leaders and their teams.
Yeah, and just to kind of ask a question, diving a bit deeper into, if you're talking with a leader, right, who's responsible for managing a virtual team, talk about the pressure that exists to keep your environment perfect during your Zooms, and how perhaps you would advise people to let go of that. And certainly from my perspective, being a parent, a working parent, and, trying to navigate this whole, the situation, it took quite a while. And quite frankly, sometimes I still don't feel the calm going into a Zoom if I know that, there's little people running around just outside the door. So what would your advice be for people that are leading teams where their team is all over the place, people have kids, people don't have kids, to help people find that calm?
Yeah. And as a leader, it's so important to show those imperfections and show be a little vulnerable and be the one that shows that it's okay to be imperfect on the Zoom. It really allows your team to see that you're human too, and it's okay for them to juggle, whatever they've got going. I think it was IBM. I saw an example recently that was shared with me who a working mom, her baby fell off the changing table because she was too afraid to get up and grab the baby. And IBM put a line in the sand and sent out a memo to employees talking about, please do whatever you have to do. We understand what's happening here. And so as leaders, you have to be the first one to, show up in that authentic way to say it's okay not to have the perfect Zoom background. It's right. Okay to put your kid on your lap. We want to see your kitten. Anything we can do right now to lighten the load. And put in the chat who got a Corona pet pandemic. I'm really curious. I haven't yet, but again, it really just kind of takes the pressure off everyone. If you can be the first to say, it's okay, you don't have to have a perfect background. It's okay if the kids run in. My son's at in-person school. Otherwise, he'd be bounding in here right now to see who I was talking to. And that's just totally fine.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Jen, for that. And also, along the lines of communicating with a virtual team, I've heard a lot of people talking about how it's more challenging to continue to move things forward, to feel like you kind of have a finger on the pulse of everyone on your team, since no one is physically together. What are your thoughts on how to potentially manage that sort of communication process?
Yeah, a couple things. I think the one-on-one meetings with individuals on your team are more important than they ever have been before. Just knowing as a leader, you wear so many hats, you always have, but even now it's so important to realize you might be therapist, friend, coach, mentor, add these roles to your list, because people need you more than ever, and they need you in different ways than they have in the past. And so, as leaders, we tend to want to solve everyone's problems, but sometimes helping people reach their own solution is the best thing you can do for them. And sometimes just shutting your mouth off and listening. That's all you have to do. Some people just need to empty it all out. And it's one of the hardest but easiest things that we can do as leaders. It's just to listen. And really empowering your team takes trust, and trusting that, of course, there's a couple people that will take advantage of the system. There always is, but just trusting that you as a leader hire the best team, you hire them for their expertise, and you trust that they're going to do what they were hired for. And being able to do that in a remote environment, you can tend to sometimes see more productivity out of people where they don't feel like their leader is looking over their shoulder or walking by their desk all day. So really kind of leaning into that trustfulness with your team. Great opportunity to do that in this virtual environment.
Right. And certainly leaning in, doing the one-on-ones, letting people sort of unload and, be heard, I guess, makes a ton of sense. And, the other thing that we've obviously dealt with is really just this navigating constant change. And I apologize. I said I might go off script before the call, but I'm doing that now. And your background, Jen, is so filled with these experiences of really massive, impactful change. And so, as we continue to navigate COVID, I know in my life every day is different. And in some ways that's fun. In other ways, it's like routine would be nice. So as we continue to navigate change, what other advice might you have for someone in a leadership role who is bringing their team along for this journey?
Yeah, I think back throughout my career and so much change and transition and frankly, crisis. And what I found was there's really this sixth sense that kicks in when you're in a moment of crisis. And I realized that that was actually me coming to the forefront here and taking charge. And I realized I wasn't really giving that part of me its proper airtime or voice. And I wanted to explore that even more. And that's what I work with my clients on is let's kind of peel back the onion here and get to your deepest, most wisest part of yourself, your authentic self, and put that version of yourself in charge a little bit more versus all these externalities that we're dealing with day in and day out, and the social media and the news and the OMGs that are going here, and that negative Nelly side of us that gets too much airtime. And so, working through some practices that you can research for yourself that really work for you to help bring that authentic version of yourself to life more than some of the other areas. And that's, a long journey, and that doesn't happen overnight, but get really curious when you're feeling at your best, or when you feel like, you were able to get through a really crazy challenge that you just didn't see a way through, and really start to create some awareness around how you're showing up in some of those moments, how you got there, what happened before, what happened during, what happened after, and just get really curious about that, so that you can dig into that and tap into that part of yourself to navigate these crazy days that we all have.
Yes, I feel like I want to hear a lot more about that. I was starting to get into the calm listening to you talk about that. So I think we need to talk more about that later. Okay, next question. Let's talk about women for a second. So have you noted in your practice any differences in how women have been impacted by the upheaval that's going on in this industry?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk right now about how many women are leaving the workforce. And that's really concerning because, it seemed like we were making some progress there. Mm-hmm. And women just biologically, we're just biologically better at certain things like collaboration and relationships. And we need that in all industries. And I think, everybody right now is taking a step back and really reprioritizing. And women especially are feeling really burnt out. We just sometimes freaking work harder. Amen. Put an amen in the chat if that resonates with you. But we're getting burnt out, and this has shed some light on our priorities and our perspective on our lives. I think anyone can really relate to that, women and men. But women are leaving to take care of their families. They don't feel like they have any options. I work with a lot of women that don't have kids, that, you know, have had an opportunity to kind of step off the hamster wheel and really think about, hey, I'm in the driver's seat here. What do I want to go do with my life? So I think companies are going to have to do more to make women in their workplace, in their companies, feel really valued. And some of this optional stuff isn't optional anymore. You know, the childcare piece is huge. Salesforce just announced, you know, we can always look to our friends in tech. They're usually the first to come out with, oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. Why can't my company do that? But Salesforce just came out with their new company policy on you're welcome to come to the office. You're welcome to work remote. You're welcome to create flex hours. I mean, I heard that and I about rolled over, because I know for me, I work best, and I would love to hear from everyone in the chat. I work best from noon to 8 p.m. I could take a break and cook some dinner, whatever, but my brain doesn't function at 8, and it doesn't function at 9 some days. So I'm curious to hear from everyone with us. What would your ideal flex hour situation be? So I think some of this stuff is not optional for companies anymore to keep women in the workforce and really retain the best talent.
Yeah, I'm writing down, it's not optional anymore. I love that. Right. And just as we wait for people to post here what their best hours are, and I see some things coming in, you know, the other thing that comes to mind for me is, you know, women are really natural multitaskers, right? We juggle a lot of things and we keep a lot of balls in the air. There are a lot of things in the air right now.
Yes.
Right. So for women who are in business, who have left business, I would love to hear more of your thought process on how to sort of remain grounded, remain disciplined in an environment where it feels like everything is everywhere. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I mean, prioritizing is key, right? I heard something from a business coach of mine: don't live out of your inbox, live out of your calendar. And I love that, because, you know, the ping, ping, pings and the ding, ding, dings, it's like, if you work that way, you aren't going to get anything done. Put everything in your calendar, even your personal priorities, right? What a game changer when I freaking started putting my workouts in my calendar. Guess what? I work out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But the calendar is not just for work, and hold your personal time sacred and put it in there, and stay focused on it, and be really clear with what your goals are, and check in on your progress towards your goals. And if you're working on stuff that doesn't ladder up to your goals, take it off the list. Take it off the list. And don't be afraid to ask for help. So many times, what can I do to help you? Oh, nothing, I'm fine. It's like, no, if you need a friend to drop off some dinner, or, you know, help, everyone wants to help right now. Everyone wants to help. We feel really fulfilled when we help other people. So ask and be specific, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone, and don't be afraid to call your friend and say, I just need to laugh for 15 minutes or cry for 15 minutes. Just ask for help.
Yeah, I love ask for help. And I also would say yes to help. Yeah. I know so many people who just say no to help. It's like, I'm good. It's like, just say yes. If people are offering you to help, just let go of that guard and, you know, say yes to help, because I think I know a lot of women who are like that.
I love that. That's great.
Okay. So we do have a couple things that came in. So Paige says she's an early bird, 7:30 to 3:30. Cynthia says 8 to 3:30. Latasha says she's a later person. So yeah, it is sort of all over the place. I know for me, I'm like after 10 o'clock, you will not see me with my laptop. Unless there's a deadline. I'm definitely a morning person.
And you know, the worst thing that, you know, I hear from a lot of people who have trouble sleeping right now, can't shut off their mind. These devices at nighttime are literally killers. Shut them off at least a half hour before you can go to bed, an hour before you go to bed. If you wake up in the middle of the night, do not look at your phone. These devices are training your brain to think it's daytime, so you spend more time on the devices. Turn them off before you go to bed. So I hope if you turn it off at 10, you're going to bed at 11, Amy. What's your bedtime?
I mean, honestly, 10. and when I say my laptop will never be on at 10, usually that's 8 o'clock, you know, because typically in my house, when I'm running bedtime, the kids are in bed by 8 o'clock. Lights are out, the doors are shut, and I am downstairs, and I don't like to work at night because it just sort of messes with me.
Yeah.
So that's me. Okay, so we're getting there. We quickly got to 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to our last question, which is really, you know, what advice, Jen, generally do you have for our listeners for remaining centered this year, for remaining productive this year? I guess at a holistic level.
I could probably go on for another 30 minutes, but I definitely want to get to some questions. So I'll give you kind of a top three here. One of the most powerful tools that we have in our toolbox is gratitude. It's so easy, but focusing on what you are thankful for and what you have versus what you don't have. And the what ifs, just taking, and I would love to see in the chat too, just put something down that you're grateful for. Might just be, oh, I have a clean glass of water and a wonderful internet connection and technology at my fingertips. It doesn't have to be anything major, although I think those things are. But just a very easy, yes, I'm grateful for Amy Sheridan too. And I'm grateful for you, Molly. So happy to see you on here. But really just, especially when you find your mind wandering down that negative rabbit hole, just take a minute and practice gratitude. You know, Amy and I were just talking before we started about, we are both handwritten note people. And it's true. It's a different part of your brain when you write things down versus type them. And I love the gratitude journals that have come out, the 5-minute journal that's come out, where you literally just take a minute at the beginning of your day or at the end, or if you could do both, just to write down a couple things you're grateful for and a couple things that you love about yourself. It's such a simple practice, but it can really be a game changer. I would also say, don't compare yourself to any other people ever. Everybody is on their own journey right now. Get off the social media for a couple weeks if you can, because you might not be having a hooray day, but getting on that Instagram or the LinkedIn can take you down. If you start seeing, well, wait a minute, what about this person's doing that? What about this person? Don't compare yourself to anyone else. We're all on our own journeys, whether you like it or not. Social media is 90% of the time fake. So get off of it. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Stay on your own path. And lastly, we talked about it, but have an amazing support system. Get a coach if you need one. Shameless plug. In fact, it's everyone's lucky day, because anyone on the call, I would love to offer a complimentary session. We're going to put that in the chat. I hope everybody takes advantage of it, but get yourself a support system and get yourself help when you need it.
Thank you so much, Jen. Amazing advice. And Jen, I would invite you to go ahead in the chat and just drop that invitation to anyone who's on today to connect with you for that complimentary session. That is an incredible opportunity. I can speak firsthand. Talking with Jen definitely brings the calm. I think that I feel that today just during this interview.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to open it up for a Q&A. If anyone on the call has a question for Jen, please drop it in now. I'll give that a second.
Oh, Cynthia says she's grateful for her network of friends who provide unconditional support. That is awesome. I didn't see some of the other great gratitude comments. So let me scroll through here. What else we got? Oh, I can't scroll through the chats. What am I doing wrong here?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, well, I'm sure it's user error, Amy. Trust me. Yeah,
okay.
fire away some questions. I'd love to chat with you all.
Okay.
I know Molly's got a question.
She's been entertaining me with her comments.
Oh, there we go.
The COVID-15 is real.
Oh,
Jen, can you see that question?
Yes. Can you tell us about a time when you had to overcome working with a challenging boss? We've all had challenging bosses. Yeah, I think what I realized when I have been in some of those situations was I had zero control. And this really goes to any relationship. I have zero control over that person, their actions. The only thing that I can control is my own reaction. And so the only thing I can do dealing with any challenging person is to take a step back to figure out how I'm showing up in that conversation, how I'm reacting to the situation. Am I bringing it down? Am I ratcheting it up? Am I being defensive? What are the feelings that are really bubbling up for me? That's the only thing I can work on. I can't work on the other person. So take a step back and really think through what are some of the emotions that are coming up with the boss. How are you showing up? Can you try a different approach? I work with my clients on that a lot. And again, it's relationships across the board. You can't change other people. You can't change the dynamic. The only thing you can change is yourself and how you show up.
We have another question from Cynthia. It says, you mentioned Salesforce and their new policy. Are you hearing of other companies following this trend?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we can always look to our friends in tech. They're always the first. I think even at the beginning of the pandemic, was it Twitter who said you can work anywhere you want as long as you want. So yeah, I think we're seeing people embrace that. But I think like when we talked about the women in the workforce thing, companies need to do more. So just the working from home isn't enough, and companies need to get creative to retain their best talent, especially women in the workforce.
Got it. And this final question, thank you, Paige, says, as we continue to work from home, how do we set boundaries with our employers? My boss tends to work 24/7 and expects us all to do the same.
Yep. That's a great question. And it's hard, but you need to be able to ask for your needs. And they can say yes or no, but you can very simply say, let me start by saying, acknowledge your employer for all they do and how amazing they are. Let's not forget that. But ask for what you need in a way where they can give kind of a quick win. So we can't go from 24/7 to half days on Fridays in the summer. But you can ask for a simple quick win to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Bossy Pants, I need to be off my device from 5 to 7 so that I can make dinner for my family and my kids. Would that be okay? They can say yes or no. But if you make it kind of a quick win and you put it out there, chances are they'll say yes. And if you just keep getting no, 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 then I would say take a step back and think about where you want to work and what the culture is, and you've got options.
Yeah, I think it seems like a game of setting boundaries. And I think many of us know that setting boundaries isn't sometimes the easiest thing to do. So I like that approach, thinking about it as a quick win.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And again, I would echo, if the answer is no, then maybe we reevaluate some things if it doesn't work, So thank you to everyone who submitted a question. At this point in time, I'm going to just tease our next guest. First, thank you, Jen, for being here today. This was amazing. I love listening to all of your insights and advice. I could listen to you all day. Our next episode, which will be on Thursday, February 25th at 1:00, will feature none other than Molly Arbogast.
Oh,
yes. It will be one for the books. Molly, I'm expecting to laugh, so please bring your A game.
No.
And finally, this presentation is really brought to you by the WINS membership community. And if you would like to learn more about the community or to look at the full list of speakers, visit us at wins.media/membership. Thanks to all of you for being here, and thank you for joining us in our mission to elevate the visibility of these amazing women like Jen in sports and entertainment.